Third down and 20.
Segment. We're gonna look at the rookie tiers, right? Because when you're drafting, you're probably gonna have a couple picks at least, and you have your guys that you want. But it's important to establish who are like valued guys that can still give you that kind of production around that pick. And it's a very important strategy to know that if guys are in one tier that you have higher up and they get drafted all before you, that's okay to trade down a couple spots to guys in your same tier that you think you're going to get the same production and value from, because it's just another way to create more value. And that's really what Dynasty football is. It's about, building the best team. And how do you do that? You gain value through trades, through drafts, through waiver wire pickups. So this is something that we got to focus on, because it is the most prevalent and prominent event that's going to happen in the next couple months. So with that, we've made some tiers, and we're gonna analyze the tiers. We're gonna talk about who we think can really jump up these tiers, who we think is gonna jump down. We all don't agree on these tiers, right? It's kind of what we've looked at to be maybe consensus, maybe a little bit of our own thoughts sprinkled into it. And with that, we're going to talk about who we think can really jump up, who we think can fall down. And it's something that you should keep in mind when you're going into your draft and you're at the spot and you see guys that we have in different tiers. If you feel comfortable picking that guy, if you feel comfortable trading down, or if there's someone that you just love so much that you want to go and trade up for him. So with that, I guess I'll start us off with the tiers. First tier, who I guess we're not even going to call it a tier. It's just Trevor Lawrence, the Trevor tier.
Trevor.
The term generational prospect gets thrown out a lot. I agree. Trevor Lawrence is just a very, very good prospect at quarterback. And I do agree that he should just be in his own tier, because he's...
Name the last college player that could have been the number one pick in the NFL draft as a freshman.
As a freshman?
Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert's draft stock went down his last year in school.
Yeah, well,
throw that out there.
But I just mean,
he had a really good...
Lawrence.
Go ahead, Lewis.
Lawrence just beat, not even just beat, but he was thrown all over Bama's defense as a freshman. I think if he was draft eligible, he probably would have got number one.
Yeah,
No,
I mean...
Question.
Yes.
Yes, Frank.
What is the price to trade up from pick 2 or tier 2 to Trevor Lawrence tier? What is the price?
Okay.
That's a really good question.
Keep in mind also, anyone listening, this is obviously Superflex. You're not picking Trevor Lawrence. Shouldn't even be in the top 7 or 8 picks, probably, Trevor Lawrence in a 1 QB. So just keep in mind, Superflex.
Yes, Superflex. Wait, so Frank, are you saying from tier 2 in general, or are you saying pick 102 to 101?
102 to
Let's just do 102
101
to 101 for simplicity purposes.
I mean, I think you have to add probably the equivalent of another first, whether it's in this draft or a player of value, at least.
So what if you did?
I was gonna say
more than that.
What if you did 102 and
More than
111? If you have 101, are you accepting that?
Probably
Obviously,
not.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jake.
Probably not, because you got to assume that you're going to be taking one of the other quarterbacks at 2. If you're picking 101, you probably in a Superflex league are a QB needy team, and you're going to want to take one of these quarterbacks from this loaded quarterback draft class. So I'm going to assume you're going to take a quarterback at 2. So for me, it's the difference between Trevor Lawrence to whoever you have at 2. A lot of debate right now who's at QB2, but whoever you have at 2, the difference between them, is it a guy that's going to be realistically in our tier 3 or tier 4 of prospects that we'll get to. And I'm looking at the list now, and I don't think it's worth it. I think you would probably have to add a little more than that, whether it's a player that's already established or another future pick or a pick in this draft. There's such a drop-off, in my opinion, between Trevor Lawrence and the next quarterback. It doesn't necessarily always translate to the NFL, but based on what he's shown in college, I just don't see a way that you can, in a Superflex league, not have such a gap here between 1 and 2.
What first round
Yeah,
pick?
and
Sorry, Coach, and this is kind of for both of you, and you, Frank. What pick with 102 in the first round would it take to move up to 101? I
okay,
think for
110.
me, 110. I think for me, it's 107.
I think you gotta go even higher. And hear me out.
You'd have it more than 107.
Yeah, hear me out. Why, right? Like, let's just put it in to people that we can already like kind of assign a value to, right? So,
Lounis,
yeah, Lounis is
fourth
worth
round pick.
Lounis is worth
Easily worth 102.
JT worth 8 first round picks.
Yes, but right. So immediately coming into the league, right? What quarterback would you guys rank Trevor Lawrence ahead of? Because right now, I think I have him right around like Dak Prescott, who's like quarterback, I don't know, 6, 7.
7 on our consensus rankings.
So 7 for Dak Prescott. I have Trevor Lawrence probably right underneath Dak Prescott at quarterback 8, right? Would you guys agree with that? Would you put him like way lower?
Above Joe Burrow,
Yeah.
like around Joe Burrow, Russell Wilson, right? Somewhere around there. I think that's completely
Okay.
fair. You can even have him higher than that.
Yes.
I can understand having him above Lamar Jackson. I would have him probably slightly behind Lamar, but I think it's totally justified.
So
It's funny you should say Lamar Jackson, because I actually offered the owner who has the 101 in our league, Lamar Jackson. And I said, what on top of Lamar Jackson would you need? I was expecting him to say, an Adam Thielen type. And guess what his answer was? DeAndre Hopkins. I just laughed. I'm like, well, are you out of your mind?
You'd have to give up all of your kneecaps to get this one.
At least.
Oh yeah. But all right, let's continue on our path, right? So we have someone around a Dak Prescott value, right? At 101. At 102, I think we all agree that the next quarterback is not Dak Prescott value. I probably have that quarterback ranked around a Baker Mayfield kind of value, the Matthew Stafford kind of area, right? So then what do you need on top of Matthew Stafford to get to Dak Prescott? And personally, if I was a Dak Prescott owner, I would need more than 107 or 111 to trade him for Matthew Stafford or Baker Mayfield. That's just.
Oh, you put it in such a convincing way. Oh.
Thank you.
That's a good analogy, JT.
I'm good for.
I was just gonna say, like, if I own 101 and I get 102 and 110, the reason I initially thought I would accept that is because I get 102, which in a vacuum is a tier 1 prospect, not Trevor tier, but like
Tier 1, yeah.
Tier 2, I guess we should say it as. And I get another tier 3 guy on top of that, because if we look at it, there are 10 players in tier 1 through 3, which would include one of the other 3 quarterbacks, Kyle Pitts, Etienne, Harris, Waddle, the 2 big receivers, and Javonte. And that's a lot of value to move back one spot. But I don't know, the way that you just put it, like, I think you're right in that the jump is so high that you really need to make something worth it, because you can make the argument that Trevor is worth a Dak Prescott right now.
Yeah, and so for me, I feel like that's probably 102 and like 104, 105, maybe 105. I do if I had 101, I trade back 101 for 102 and 105. Because then
You're
I know,
declining 106.
yeah, 106 is because then there's a chance I miss out on because there's a lot of people I do like up in the top tiers, and a couple people I am kind of shying away from and are wouldn't love to have on my team. So with 105, I'm kind of guaranteeing that I definitely have 2 of those guys at 102 and 105. That's where I'm coming from.
What about 102 and Mixon?
The Mixon paradox. I see where again him involved in here. Yeah,
Feature
I don't think I'm saying yes to that.
I think you have to. I think you have to do.
If you're a competing team, I think so. if you're a rebuilding team, probably not. I just think that if you're a rebuilding team and you suck, you might as well just take Trevor Lawrence and run away happy because, yeah, you could win in the value game and his price is super high, but if my team sucks ass, I am not risking it. The draft is risky enough as is. I can take my knight in shining armor and say, hey, I have a quarterback. We have something to build around.
Yeah, yeah,
Also,
exactly.
the benefit of taking Trevor Lawrence is no one can say you messed it up. Like if you trade back, if he ends up sucking, right? Hypothetically, I don't think it will happen. But if he ends up sucking, no one's gonna be like, "Oh, that was a bad pick, man. You really messed up 101 there."
Yeah. No, exactly. Everyone's taking him at 101.
You'll save yourself
Except for that
the
one.
league embarrassment that way, compared to if you trade back and the Joe Mixon paradox continues and you take a bust quarterback at 2, then you're gonna get just never
Also,
ending
then you
made fun of there.
yeah, you got to decide on Fields or Wilson, and whichever one you don't pick, if they end up
Leaving
being the
out our
better one.
boy Trey Lance, Lounis. We are a Trey Lance pod. How
I
could
love
you do
Trey
this?
Lance, but
Now that we're talking about 102, let's just move on to 102. It's like, okay.
All right. So we're in our tiers now.
Yeah, we jumped down to tier now. We jumped down to tier 2 tier 2. Let's just call it tier 2.
Yeah, it gets confusing when we don't, because then the Trevor tier kind of screws everything up. All right. So tier 2, we have Zach Wilson, Devontae Smith, Jamar Chase, and Javonte Williams. That's who's currently in our tier 2.
This is also, for the record, basically just like my tier 2. I can guarantee you these other guys do not have the same tier 2.
Yeah. So right off the bat, I'm jumping up both Trey Lance and Justin Fields into that tier 2, and I am going to drop down Devontae Smith into tier 3. And we all can, we've battled this before. Go check out, if you're on YouTube or if you're listening to podcasts, go check out our most recent episode when we do the 2-round Superflex mock draft, tight end premium. Yeah, subscribe. We've seen a good increase in our subscriber numbers. Thank you, everyone. But yeah, so we've had this debate before about Devontae Smith. I kind of doesn't make sense to debate it again because there are lower level guys that we should probably start debating so people have a general idea of these other guys. But I guess if we just want to run around the room real quick, we'll go around the room. We'll each say one guy from this tier that we think can jump up. I mean, I know it's going to be hard to put him into the Trevor Lawrence tier, but one guy that can jump up from tier 2 and one guy that will drop down from tier 2. So again, the for everyone listening, the players that are in this tier are Devontae Smith, Jamar Chase, Javonte Williams, Zach Wilson. Who wants to start?
I'll start because they're basically mine as is. So
okay.
I'll just get it out of the way quick. Person I think that can move down is Zach Wilson. I was saying it to the boys before the podcast. I think right now QB2 is a complete crapshoot. All the guys are pretty similarly rated for me. I haven't done a full in-depth dive. I'm working on the receivers and running backs, but it's really going to depend on landing spot for me, where I have QB2, because the drop-off from Justin Fields to Zach Wilson right now is just so minimal. So I think that the QBs can move up and down pretty easily. And then I guess a guy from tier 3 that can jump up aside from the quarterbacks is Kyle Pitts.
No, I'm saying, sorry, Frank, to cut you off. I'm saying, who do you think is getting from tier 2 to the Trevor Lawrence tier?
Oh.
Like who on this can jump up?
So I think that for me, it would be probably one of the 2 receivers. I've been saying it for a while. This is one of, in terms of top tier talent, Devontae Smith and Jamar Chase is the best receivers that I've seen since that AJ Green Julio class. People have thrown that around before, and I never bought into it. I thought it was always bullshit. But this time around, it's legit. I can see those 2 guys going top 10, and we haven't really seen that in recent times. Like top 10 in the real draft.
Yeah. All right. I guess we'll move around the room on my screen. I'm not sure if it's the same for you guys, but Jake, who do you have moving up and moving down?
So moving up, I'm just going to start. I'm going to have it's Jamar Chase. I just think he's a special talent at wide receiver. We all saw what Justin Jefferson did with the Vikings this season, and Jamar Chase just clearly was the dominant number 1 receiver for LSU last season. It just goes to show how elite of a talent he is. I really think he is the best receiver prospect to come out since Julio Jones. I think he will live up to the hype. Don't buy into he missed a season, he sat out, he's not ready. Dude knows how to play football. Please do not panic on Ja'Marr Chase at all. Just no matter what his pro day numbers say, the dude can play football. Watch the tape. He will burn any secondary and will continue to do so in the NFL. In terms of who I have moving down, I'm going to say it's Javonte Williams. I know this pod is a big Javonte Williams pod. A lot of you guys have him as the running back 1 in this class, and as of right now, I agree. From what I've seen, but I do think a lot of things that happen with the running backs is due to landing spot. We saw what happened last year with Edwards-Helaire getting drafted by the Chiefs, and he all of a sudden was a tier 1 prospect for a lot of guys. So I just think, if he gets drafted to not such a great team and another running back like the Etiennes or the Najee Harris's, guy like that gets drafted to a more high-powered offense, I think they could easily flip-flop here.
All right. So, Lounis, normally I'd go to you, but Jake's analysis is exactly who I would have as my move up and down. And, I'm just not going to, repeat what he said. I think that would make everything boring. So I'm just going to give Jake my
down Javonte too?
All right. I guess I could speak real quick on it. So I still have Javonte as my running back 1. It's just that I don't like the running backs this year. Like I don't love, especially when compared to last year's running backs. So it's like being the running back 1 of this class compared to being the running back 1 of last year's class is very different to me. And for that reason, like I just think everyone else in this has a really good shot of being, like top 10. Maybe they have a chance at being top 5 in their position. And I don't think Javonte Williams has that ability. I think he could squeeze in the top 10 and be an RB1 dynasty value potentially, but I just think these other guys have a much better chance of doing so.
Who's joining the Javonte Williams hype train with me? Who's joining? Anyone?
He's the only one
alone?
All right, Lounis, what are your thoughts?
Are you on, Lounis?
Oh,
Lounis, are you on?
Frank's gonna be happy at first and mad at me next.
I have a train on the screen. Are you on this train or are you not on the train? Because it's leaving the station.
Javonte Williams is staying in that tier for me. You're gonna be you're happy now, but you're gonna be mad at who I'm dropping. JT knows. It's because
I know who you're gonna drop. We have this debate
I'm
every
not
time
gonna
we
get
see each other.
because these guys are all studs, so I'm never gonna he's amazing. But I'll put down Devontae Smith if I had to pick one, because I just really like all those guys. And moving up, what is it? Also because I don't think Smith is the second best pass catcher. I think it's Pitts. But in terms of moving up to tier 1, I'm with you guys for the same reasons. It's Ja'Marr Chase. I think Ja'Marr Chase is literally unreal. I don't need to go in depth more than what you guys did for your reasoning for tier 1 because I completely agree with you guys. So yeah, I agree with you guys in terms of it be Ja'Marr Chase jumping up.
Okay, real quick before we now transitioning into tier 3. What is the price jump from tier 2 to tier 3? I feel like the price jump for me is pretty small right now.
I think it's really small because there's so much stuff that's kind of debatable. Like for me with my running back rankings, I'd probably have Javonte Smith at 1A, but then Etienne at like a 1B or extremely close to. I've been a huge Etienne fan for a bit.
I know most people are going to have that big 3 in different orders. I personally have I have it Javonte at 1 with a slight tier jump to Najee and Etienne, but I agree with you. I think that it's very blurred lines between tier 2 and tier 3. So now let's go into tier 3, right? Are we playing this game again? Jump up, jump down, kind of a thing?
Yeah. So I think
we should read out the list first.
Yeah.
Let JT go. Let JT go.
So real quick, jumping off Frank's price change point, right? 104 to 107. What's getting you to move back from 104 to 107, or what do you want to put up to move from 107 to 104? Because I think
Early second, and I'll accept. If I know I can get Javonte at 107 in a rookie draft and I can move down from 104, if I get one of those like first 3 or 4 picks in the second round, I think I smash accept that.
so. Like
I agree.
would you do it for 203? Does 203
I
sound?
think
That's what I was gonna say. I don't think I would do that for most drafts, but for this draft, yes.
Well, last year you can argue it too. And I think that's a very viable strategy to come into the draft. Let's say you really want Jalen Waddle, for example. This is not what I would do, and you landed 102. You can try and snake back on the tiers. You can try and trade back from 102 to like 104, 105, and then from 105, a couple more spots back, pick up a little bit of value in each trade, and then all of a sudden you've gotten a nice little haul moving back from 102 to 107, and then you take your guy.
Definitely a viable one. I mean, it's all league dependent though on who's willing to trade. I know there's more trade happy leagues than others, but yeah, something I definitely consider. I think 202 is probably right around where I'd take to move back from 104 to 107. I'd probably try and get greedy though, see if I could, somehow sneak another first out, something like 104 for 107 and 110, and I'll throw in a second round pick next year, kind of thing. See if someone would do that. But yeah, so moving on, we have our tier 3. And in this tier, the quarterbacks we got are Trey Lance and Justin Fields. Then Jalen Waddle is our only wide receiver in here. Running backs of Najee Harris and Travis Etienne, and Kyle Pitts, first tight end off the board in our tier 3. So Jake, going back to you. Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Jalen Waddle, Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, Kyle Pitts. Who are you moving up? Who are you moving down?
The guy I'm moving up, just so I don't repeat, because I know who Lounis is gonna say, because he argues this every time. But the guy I'm moving up.
I'm gonna pick.
The guy I'm moving up is just going to really physical attributes that they're going to see at these pro days or however these teams are going to do scouting. I think he can run the ball, he can throw the ball. If he's an accurate quarterback, he really does it all. Obviously, some downsides is he played at North Dakota State. People are a little wary of an FCS team, but I think he's going to really wow people, and he's going to end up going, probably top 10 in the draft. I would be shocked if he falls out of the top 10, top 12 worst. And I just think he's going to start to fly up draft boards, and that's who I have moving up out of this tier. A lot of people might say it's Justin Fields, but I like Trey Lance just a little more here. Who I have moving down, it's the running back. It's Najee Harris. Like I said, I just think that the running backs are so landing spot dependent. If he ends up in a backfield that has another capable running back and he's just stuck in a running back by committee, I really think he's going to struggle. I think people are going to say he'll be the goal line back because he's a bigger guy and really power running back. But I don't like to. You're going to have to use a high first round pick to get a guy that's going to be in a running back by committee. I just don't think that's the way to go.
I like both those. I probably agree with both those, to be honest. But in interest of being kind of different, and actually people I guess I'd put higher and lower, is I'd move Justin Fields up. Jake mentioned a lot of people would. I'm one of them. Because I truly believe he's better than Zach Wilson anyway. So like if we're gonna have Zach Wilson in our tier 2, we definitely I definitely have to have Justin Fields in my tier 1. As much as I want to say Trey Lance and Kyle Pitts, I want to move them both up. I'm gonna go with Justin Fields. I just I've talked about him before. If you want to listen to previous podcasts, I'm not gonna ramble on about him again. I just really like him. I think he's one of the better prospects we have had at quarterback in recent years, but he's just been completely outshone by Trevor Lawrence, which is kind of unfair to him, but it's the reality because of how good Trevor Lawrence really is. So then moving down, Jake said Najee Harris. I'd agree with that. But someone else that I'm going to move down is Travis Etienne, because I think, as of right now, I think it'll stick to this. I see Najee Harris as the number one running back going off the board. So that could mean end of the first round. And if he gets moved to the end of the first round, that means he's going to be on a good team. They probably have plans on it with him, running the ball, helping out the offense, just kind of keeping pace over the lesser teams. So that's something I would like and find appealing about Najee Harris, while Travis Etienne would probably be more of an early second, meaning he's likely to go to a worse team, not as appealing, although that could be the Falcons, in which case I would very much change my outlook on everything. But again, I don't really love the running backs this year, so that's why I'm going to move them down, just because I like everything feeling down.
So there are three main guys I wanted to move up. One of them was Fields. I'm not. Well, actually, no, because I know Frank's not going to say the other one I like. I probably would have put Waddle up there, but the one I'm picking is Pitts. Pitts, I just think best tight end prospect since I don't even know when was the last time we saw someone this good. I think if you're throwing in, like I said, I've said this for a bit, if you're throwing in receivers and tight ends together, I think he's the second best pass catcher. He's going to be a matchup nightmare everywhere in the NFL. Like, even if you have a stud tight end, like, drafting him still isn't a bad idea because you can line him up anywhere. You can line him outside. You can line him in the slot. You can line him up at actual tight end, and he's going to be a mismatch nightmare everywhere. He's going to be a top 5 tight end, extremely fast, and top 3 a little bit later in his career. And then eventually he might get to number 1 as Kelsey kind of ages out, and Kittle gets older. But as for moving down, you guys both said Najee Harris. I'm close to picking him. Okay, I probably will, but just for sake, I'll list my next closest to Harris, which would probably be, don't hate me, Trey Lance, but probably Trey Lance. I hate saying it.
Lounis.
I'm a traitor.
After all the times you've said we're a Trey Lance podcast, this is what you do.
And I'll be rooting
This
for
is
Trey
why
Lance.
you are the least valuable member of this podcast.
Someone pulled
Except for the hair. The hair carries you, Lounis.
Hey, well, I hope whoever listened to the last podcast sold low on Jared Goff. You're welcome. How about that?
Wish I had your hair.
But no. And I think Trey Lance is going to be really, really good. And it feels weird putting him. I feel wrong putting him in the same tier as Mac Jones and Trask because he's way better than them.
I think this tier is great. I think tier 3 is probably the
tier
most
3 is insanely good. That's what I'm saying. Like there's a way bigger difference for me between our tier 3 and tier 4 than our tier 2 and tier 3.
Yeah, I almost want to call tier 3 an extension of tier 2.
The 2.5.
It's just, I like you guys said, I can make an argument for both of those quarterbacks moving up.
All right. Real quick though, Frank, what do you think the price is? What price do you think is greater? Right, moving from 101 to 102, or from 102 to 108?
101 to 102.
The price is greater to move from 101 to 102 to move back.
Yeah, then 102 to 108. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
In this class,
in this draft,
because that's why I initially said in that 10 that I would accept 110 and 102 if I had 101 initially, because there are 10 really talented prospects, right? 10 what I consider that cream of the crop tier prospects. And we have it separated in tier 2 and tier 3 kind of based off of my preference coming into the draft right now. But let's just say, for example, the 49ers trade up for Justin Fields. I think that's a phenomenal fit, and I would love Justin Fields. Same thing with a team like the Washington football team. And I would
Carolina
probably want like him over Zach Wilson at that point, especially if Zach Wilson gets picked to like some dog shit like the Jets or something, I don't know. For moving up, I think it's the quarterbacks. For moving down, for me, it'd be Etienne. I think Etienne kind of just draws the short end of the stick here. I think it's fine though. I kind of want to keep tier 3 how it is. Let's move on to tier 4 though. I'm
Wait,
starting
real
on
quick
tier 4.
Real quick, interesting, Frank. So, do you have Najee Harris above ETN now?
Yeah, I flipped it back. I'm torn on them. I think that ETN, if I were an NFL team, I would rather have ETN than Najee Harris. But in terms of a
But
fantasy team,
fantasy-wise,
I think
Harris.
I'd rather have Najee Harris than Travis Etienne right now, if that
Very
makes
fair.
any sense.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. This is where things get juicy.
Yeah. So
It's a juicer.
so in our
Wait,
tier,
can I start here? Can I start?
yeah, sure.
Sorry, I want to start.
So
Yeah,
I
read
got
off.
I got some spice I'm throwing on this bad boy. So
All
tier
right.
4, we have Mac Jones, Mac Jones, Kyle Trask, Rondale Moore, Rashad Bateman, Michael Carter, Tylan Wallace. I'll go quick. I am moving up Rondale Moore, Tylan Wallace, and Mac Jones. We're supposed to pick one. I picked 3. Fuck it. I like all these
Are you gonna
guys.
leave it? Come on,
All
now,
right, I
Jimbo.
take away Tyler Wallace so Jake can have him. I'm moving up Rondale Moore and Mac Jones. I'm moving down Kyle Trask probably, and probably Kyle Trask, and that's it. So what's interesting to me about Kyle Trask is that I do like his talent. In terms of like what I've seen on tape, I just don't really like. I like his intangibles. I don't like his talent. That's what I should have said. The guy, he's just got messy footwork. He doesn't have that NFL caliber arm, but at the end of the day, I think that he processes defenses pretty quickly and has great touch on the football. So, like, it's weird to move. I just think Mac Jones, from a talent perspective, he's got a better arm, he's got a better footwork, and he has better intangibles right now. Aside from making tight window throws, I think that Kyle Trask has him over that. But that's it. You guys go. JT, you go.
All right, we're really switching things up here. Yeah, I think I'm very far off from what you were saying. The one thing I'll agree on, the guy that I'm moving down, sorry, Lounis, it's Kyle Trask. I just don't see Kyle Trask.
Moving down.
Is it Kyle Trask, Jake?
Yeah, it's Kyle Trask.
I just think like
Lounis will not stop talking shit if Kyle Trask ends up becoming the best quarterback in this class.
Oh my god, I'm going to be unbearable. I will be unbearable. You guys will have to like kick me off an episode.
Yeah. So you, but not tell you that you're muted and just let you run the whole episode.
Mute me for an episode.
Yeah. But yeah, so Kyle Trask, I personally don't see him getting drafted in the first round of the real NFL draft. I mean, maybe squeeze it into the end, but even so, like I'm just not considering him in that same tier just because like the studies show and analytics can be wrong, but like quarterbacks that go after about 15 or 20 in the real NFL draft are less likely to become franchise quarterbacks, like much less likely. So if Kyle Trask is second round pick or even a late first, that's already hurting his chances. I also think that Mac Jones is better, like Frank said. Yada. We're gonna kind of just bury the guy right in Lounis's face. The person I'm moving up though, it's in the interest of being different, but also someone I actually really believe in. That's Rashad Bateman. I think I'm the highest on Rashad Bateman out of this group. Taking the bait, as Frank would say. I just think he's a very athletic receiver who kind of, I think if this most recent year didn't happen and we were just talking about last year, I think he'd be much higher, but it's kind of been, a weird COVID college football year in which he opted out. Didn't. I think I talked about him on the last podcast as well, where I also, hyped him up a little bit. So I'm not going to try and hype up his stock too much. I still would rather have the other guys above him, but he's the one that I'm moving up here. Who are we moving on to? Jake, Lounis, whoever wants to take it here.
You can go first.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, Kyle Trask moving down. Not going to add anything here. The guys covered it. But who I am moving up, as Frank said, he left him for me. Thank you. It's Tylan Wallace. I took him in our Superflex 2-round mock draft. I got him at 212, which I just thought was an absolute.
That's such a steal, dude.
Which was an absolute steal. I really would take this guy as high as probably 202, maybe, depending on how he tests moving forward. But this is a guy that is coming back off an ACL injury. That's why he was forced to return for his senior season. But in his sophomore season, he was a Bolitnikov finalist. He didn't win. He came in second, I believe, to Jerry Jeudy. But either way, he was one of the top receivers in all of college football. The fact that he's even sliding this far is ridiculous. He's just he gets open and he will continue to get open. There's just no other way to put it. This guy is a great player.
Jake, real quick, that's funny you said 202 because right now he's 202 on my big board. That's hilarious that you said high is 202. I completely agree.
Real quick before Lounis goes, I think we have to find a way to just get all these takes down, and then we're gonna hold each other accountable for this stuff. Because like we said, like Lounis could just hate on us for if Kyle Trask is good.
Hey, I like Kyle Trask. I'm just not taking him in the first round of a rookie draft or like the very early second. I'd rather have some of these other prospects. But like come that mid-second round spot, kind of like a little bit before where Jordan Love was generally taken last year, right? Because Jordan Love was going that late second. Like I would take Trask 207, 206 as a QB needy team, maybe somewhere around there. Maybe 208, but like I'm not taking him 112. There's just so many guys I'd rather have at 112.
Yeah, I mean, if we compare that to last year, that's probably what people were saying about Justin Herbert, and we saw how that ended up. So like, if Lounis ends up, getting that Justin Herbert quality player at 206, like we're saying, like he could just bury it.
You guys better hope not.
Listen, JT. If I ever die, I want it to be because of a Lounis being correct on a take here. So I think it's a good way to go.
Long happy life.
Okay, so
I have a couple of them.
So we can now let's move into tier 5. So are we all
I didn't say mine yet.
Oh crap, you didn't say yours yet.
I'll be quick. I'll be quick.
Go you Kyle.
So I'm moving up. No, it's not Trask. So I'm moving up. I'm not gonna go too in depth because I thought Frank explained it well. It's Rondale Moore. He is my wide receiver 4 right now. And I'd have him above pretty much if all these guys are on the board. I'm picking Rondale Moore. I think, like Frank explained, for all the reasons he said, he's a playmaker. I think he fits in pretty much any offense as long as the offensive coordinator isn't like dumb or super old fashioned. And I'm excited to see him in the NFL. Moving down, it's tough because I don't think any of these guys are like significantly worse. I'd probably pick Michael Carter. Who I think I know Frank's not a fan. And he had a pretty good Senior Bowl, but I think the Senior Bowl has kind of hyped him up a lot more than like I would. Like I'm not gonna change my opinion drastically on someone because of a decent Senior Bowl performance. And he just didn't show me enough to where I don't know if I have him quite yet at RB. He's definitely RB5. I don't know if I can go RB4 yet. And he, again, none of these guys are significant. It was hard to pick one to drop. I was like kind of stuck. That's why I told Jake to go first because I don't even know who I wanted to drop. But if I had to pick one, it'd probably be Michael Carter.
So are we all going to agree that the drop from tier 3 to tier 4 is probably the biggest?
It's up there.
Easily. I think that's easily the biggest.
Aside from Trevor Lawrence. Okay, that I'm not counting the Trevor Lawrence one because that's
I think that's easily the biggest.
Yes, because I think there's a lot of guys in tier 5 that we're going to go over right now that could easily move up into tier 4. So I agree.
I have a couple guys in tier 5 that I like more than the tier 4 guys.
Yeah, just when we talk in terms of that, then yeah, I guess it would be the bigger tier drop. So it's looking like we said, we had Mac Jones, Kyle Trask, Rondale Moore, Rashad Bateman, Michael Carter, and Tylan Wallace in that. So that's 6 guys in this tier. We had 4 in the second tier, and we had 6 in tier 3. So Trevor Lawrence makes, I believe, if my math is right, 17 total. So it's looking like if you're in a 12-team league, it looks like there's probably a big drop off from. I don't know. What would you guys say? Like 2? No, maybe 110. 111 probably. 111 to 112. 111 to 201 is probably where you're going to see the bigger drop off. You're going to want your picks to be probably top 11-ish, just based on value. So Yeah, that's likely what you're going to need to keep in mind. Um, moving on. So what I'm trying to get at, sorry for kind of rambling on here, but what I'm trying to get at is like the price to move from 111 to 203 is a lot higher to me than to move from 111 to say 18. Okay, there's a lot of guys that I'm comfortable taking around those prices where it gets tougher. So it's something that you need to keep in mind when you're doing your deals and when you're doing your draft day trades as well. Because the last thing you want to do is make a panic trade the day of the draft that really screws over your fantasy team or dynasty team for a year or two. Panic,
And yeah, it's a quick side comment.
yeah,
This is kind of a recommendation. I think all four of us have generally an idea heading into the draft, but it really helps if you do make a draft board heading into your rookie draft. At least for like kind of like the first two rounds of guys, I'd go into the third round just so that like I feel like a lot of times, like JT mentioned, people will make like a panic trade and stuff. Like we always just chant it as kind of like a joke, but stick to the board. Like I do think that making that a couple days before the draft and staying true to it will help you not make any like kind of dumb in the moment mistakes.
Another thing just to
yeah,
add on
and
to
the
Lotus,
line. Yep.
another thing just to add on, do what we just went through. Like obviously our tiers are not they're not even consensus among us. Like we said, we have a lot of movers up and down. And you should go through and make a tier list of your own because that'll help you decide whether, hey, should I trade back here? Should I trade up here? Because I think it, like we said, there's a big tier drop between what is it, tier
3 and 4.
yeah, between tier 3 and tier 4. So if you have one of these picks in the middle of tier 4, you'd either I would personally want to try to move up into that tier 3 if possible, but if you don't have the assets to do so, trade back a little bit, pick up some assets, and stay within that tier 4. And it won't hurt the player that you're getting that much. And so as long as you set your tiers, it really makes it easier to have a game plan going into the draft, which is the being prepared is the hardest part of the draft. Actually taking the players is the fun part. So do your homework and you'll have a successful draft.
There you go.
Yeah, one more thing. Sorry before you go in, JT, is that I've made this mistake before. Don't overpay for a player in the same tier. Say, I don't know, Tylen Wallace versus Rashad Bateman. Even someone like me who really wants Tylen Wallace, do not overpay to move up only a handful of spots to take a player that you have in the same tier, even if you really like that guy. It will most likely just bite you in the ass. So just be very wary of that. I've made that mistake before.
Yeah, I mean, an example of that could be like trading up to go and get Jerry Judy when you had Jalen Rager in the same tier. I mean, both of them have been kind of disappointments, but it's like you gave up a lot of value to get someone that's kind of equal value right now, and you just lost all that
Or
future
even like,
value.
Rager versus I. Last year, a stupider version of me, or even though I had them in the same tier. It's just like, don't panic. Everyone says go get your guys. Well, don't drastically overpay for your guys unless you have to have them.
Yeah, because so Judy and Rager and Ayuk, like you liked both those guys. You had them in the same tier for a reason. So they're both your guys. So there's no reason to really overpay for that. But we're getting off track a little bit. Time to move on. So what we have next is tier 5, and it's an interesting tier. Though the one thing I'd add, just a tip to you guys, a kind of funny one, is if you are playing in a league with defenses, you don't need to trade a second round pick for a defense. You could just you could go and pick a defense off waivers. So there's no reason to trade a second round pick for a defense around here. Just a side note for some people, but where we're going with this is at this tier we have Terrace Marshall, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Kadarius Toney for our wide receivers. For running backs, we've got Kenneth Gainwell, Chuba Hubbard, Trey Sermon. Sorry, I forgot our wide receiver, Tutu Atwell as well. And then we have tight end Pat Fryermuth also up here. So you know what? I guess I'll just continue my rambling on, and I'll go first. The guy that I'm moving up in this one is Terrace Marshall. Personally, I think I have him high in tier 4, almost borderline tier 3. So like I get like I'm really high on Terrace Marshall, but I like him a lot. So he's definitely the one that I'm moving up. I think I've also talked about him on a different podcast. But you know, you've got Justin Jefferson, you got Jamar Chase, and you've also got Terrace Marshall there at LSU. And Terrace Marshall was playing really well as well. I mean, this last season he put up decent numbers with not a great quarterback in a COVID season, where he was easily the top wide receiver on LSU and the guy getting most of the focal points from defenses. So he's someone that I'm very high on. Lower on, and someone that I'm going to move down. I'm going to look like a Florida hater. I really don't hate Florida. But I'm moving down Kadarius Toney. Like he's a senior. It took him, until his senior season to really play well, and even then, I think there's still a few guys like better than him. We saw in the Senior Bowl, everyone's like, "Oh, look how good he was at running the routes." Yeah, but he couldn't catch the ball. He kept dropping it. Like, catch the ball for you get fancy points. So that's who I'm going to move down. I know Lounis is probably going to burn me at the cross for that one, but those are my two guys. Moving up, Terrace Marshall Jr., moving down, Kadarius Toney. Lounis, you know what?
Can I go next?
Go ahead, Lounis.
Okay. All right. So I'm guessing you're guessing who I'm moving up because it's fucking Tony.
Yeah.
Terrace Marshall, a ton of stuff.
Here, wait.
I like Terrace Marshall a ton of stuff.
Change my mind.
I would take Tony over a couple of the tier 4 guys.
Who?
So
Over who?
who?
Over who?
I have him over.
I feel
I
like
hope
he's consensus above Wallace.
I have him over Tylan Wallace.
Then
I can't hear you, Jake.
Why? Why?
I'm not alone in that. That's kind of like the popular.
I feel like that's consensus, to be honest.
Yeah, like I
No,
feel like
but
every
I
analyst
I
has
just
Tony ahead of Wallace.
strongly disagree with that consensus.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like that's not like a bold take. Like I feel like if you go to Bleacher Report, PFF, ESPN, they all got Tony ahead of him.
Yes, ESPN, the most viable source.
I mean, use anything else. Use PFF. Use Bleacher. I don't know. I'm just saying I'm not alone in that.
Yeah, so I was looking at the Max Kellerman rankings, and I really like it.
Oh my God! Don't even bring that up on this podcast.
Iguodala.
Do not taint this podcast with that bullshit.
I want.
I think if you take anything from this podcast, it's probably don't listen to ESPN, especially Max Kellerman. But all right, continue.
Don't listen to Max Kellerman.
Yeah, there are a few guys I like in these. I think Louis Riddick's awesome. But okay, getting back to this. So I have Kadarius Toney. I know what JT brought up, and I have a rebuttal. So he was like, "Oh," and he did run amazing routes at the Senior Bowl. But I was on him before the Senior Bowl too. He did what I expected him to with the routes. He makes everyone miss. Literally, he makes everyone miss. So you brought up the drops. He had 3 drops in college. I'm not gonna like worry too much about like he was known as kind of a sure hands guy in college. A couple drops in the Senior Bowl practice, like especially the one clip you're talking about where he just juked the corner like crazy. Yes, I was more impressed with the route running. I'm not worried about his drops on the next level. I think he'll be fine because it wasn't really a problem for him at college. And I watched, I don't think every single Florida game, but I watched a heavy majority of Florida's games. So he's the guy having the tier above. I also like him more than Bateman. Who I'm putting in the tier below? This is tough. So I know a lot of NFL guys are pretty high on him. I want to see what he comes in at, but from the measurables that we have right now, I might have to put. I was close on Hubbard, but I'm gonna go Tutu Atwell.
No, not my boy Chartarius Tutu Atwell.
Because I mean, the NFL guys are way higher on him than I am. It's just if you're really only 165, 5'9", like,
Luna's bigger. You're bigger than that.
yeah, like, well, I think it's really close to my weight because I'm like 5'9.5" and around like 165. Yeah, so he's like the same weight as me. I would get crushed if I was playing on the NFL level. I'm first tackle. I'm breaking like 3 ribs. So,
Don't sell yourself short, Loon.
hey, I appreciate it, man.
You're a pick.
You were a
We already
backyard
established
football
this.
I
star.
was, but
All right, but why are you low on my boy Chartarius, dude? What's going on?
what, Tutu Atwell?
Yeah.
Is that
What do you got against him?
is that his? No, I mean, if it's just more if I had to pick one, just because he's giving me Tavon Austin vibes from
Okay.
when I've watched him. How small he is. He's just someone where at Louisville he was able to outrun and he has really good juking ability. And I think he's gonna be one of those guys that's like an insanely good returner. I think he has value, but I don't know if I'm putting him like I don't consider him on the same level as a Terrace Marshall or Amon Ra or Tony. So he's the guy I'm dropping just because I like all the other receivers in that tier a lot more.
All right, I'll go. So I like JT said, I'm a big fan of Terrence Marshall. I'd probably move him up. Tony, I'd probably keep around the same. But to pick someone new, I will be moving up Kenneth Gainwell. For a couple of reasons. One, I really fell in love with Kenneth Gainwell's tape when I watched him. It's just this guy is so electric in the open field. Everyone seems to think that, oh, well, it's ETN that's the electric guy in the open field. ETN's fast. Kenneth Gainwell is electric. He's shifty. He's probably got the best shift, juke, whatever you want to call it in this class. So Kenneth Gainwell, I think he does have some work to do running in between the tackles, but he's a guy who plays above his weight and his size, and I think that as that like mid day 2 pick, I think he could be really good in the NFL. Someone that I'll be moving down is probably one of the other backs, either Trey Sermon or Chuba Hubbard. I think that Chuba Hubbard, I'll move him down because I'm more certain on Chuba Hubbard. I like Chuba. I liked him a lot last year. I think he has a ton of potential. The only problem I have with Chuba is that day 1, I think he's going to kind of just suck. He really only has a jump cut. He has speed. He doesn't break a ton of tackles. He can put some weight in his frame. He definitely needs to, especially in his legs, and he is fast, but like he's just extremely one-dimensional as a running back. But at the same time, he does have a ton of potential. It's just at the end of the day, when I'm comparing him to these other prospects, Amon-Ra, super polished receiver, a guy that I think can make a day 1 impact. Same thing with Terrace Marshall, Kadarius Toney, ton of potential. Kenneth Gainwell, electric. Like, I'm just not sure that Chuba Hubbard really stacks up against these guys, which is why I'd have to move him down a tier.
Fair enough.
All right. My last thing real quick though is I hate to just really rip apart Tony, but I feel like it's something that we gotta like talk about. It's just for the Tony guys, so I guess is mainly just Lounis, but a little bit of Frank in there.
I like some too.
Yeah. So like Tony is just about 6 feet. He's listed as 6 feet. I feel like he's shorter. I think it's just, sights kind of bumping him up in height. But we have him as kind of a smaller wide receiver. And it took him 4 years to really make his mark and really show out at Florida. But even then, he still had less than 25% of his team's total receiving yards. And I never saw him like play like amazing. Like I saw good clips and everything, but like I never saw.
Did you watch the SEC championship?
Yeah, like that's the main one where like he had good plays, but it's just like I don't see like what do you guys see in him that I'm really missing because I just don't see it.
He's got really good feet. His short area quickness is nice. And he's just electric with the ball in his hands. He's just really tough to bring down. And the other thing that I like about him, when I compare him to someone like that everyone seems to really love, Jalen Waddle, is that I've seen Tony line up both in the slot, on the outside. They use him as like that H-back kind of a role. Whereas Waddle, it's like I've just kind of seen him play that one slot role over and over and over and over and over again. I haven't seen him really do anything else. At least with Tony, yeah, he hasn't had that crazy level of production. I do share that skepticism. I mean, at the end of the day, I have him. We're in what, tier 5 now? Like, I think that's fair for him, though.
Yeah.
What is he in your wide
So,
receiver rankings again?
Me, I had him around
He
8.
is. He is like right around. So I have him, Rashad Bateman, and Nico Collins in a tier at 6,
God.
7, and 8.
The Bateman.
Oh, so you have Tony at 6.
You have him high then.
Yeah, I got Tony
I don't
at
think
5.
it's that high. Oh, well, to be fair, I don't have Terrace Marshall graded in here. I don't have I think that's really it actually of like the receivers we've gone over so far.
Wow. Okay. Does that mean?
I mean,
So I'm
he could
assuming you
easily
have-
be 9. Like,
Yeah. So you have like I have him way down. I have him at like 18.
yeah,
I'm
I know
all-
you have
that's
him way
crazy.
down.
18.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, but
Man, 18. God damn.
I was gonna say 18 is
I
crazy.
like a lot of receivers. I can bump them up a little bit. I'll give them 16 if you guys want. But there are a lot of
That's still
receivers that I like. I think Kadarius Toney is the guy that kind of
Watch
screams.
also his tape versus LSU.
Sure.
No, I agree with you, JT. Like, if I'm an NFL team, I'd probably rather have Rashad Bateman, just because I think I get a little bit of
Absolutely.
consistency out of Bateman. And at the end of the day, if I want ceiling, I think I'd rather have Nico Collins because I think he has a bigger ceiling. It's just if you want something between the two of
I get, but well, I'm not gonna get into everyone. But
I have
like
Tylen Wallace ahead of Kadarius Toney. Don't worry.
Diami Brown, where you have Diami Brown,
I don't have him graded yet.
Nico Collins, I'd have over him. I'd have I don't even know. Oh, Tamar. I can't get his name right. Terry from S.
Yeah, I like what I saw at Terry. I don't have him
Seth
finished,
Williams.
but like I'd rather have Tony over Amon-Ra probably. It all depends
Really?
on if
I do too.
Amon-Ra
The
is
thing is with Amon-Ra-
is so polished. I mean, his route
no, he is
running,
extremely
his route
polished.
running,
He's
his
got-
hands, his
Oh,
get off
Tony's
the
pretty
line.
solid.
I don't know.
But it's just what do I get more? You know, do I get a good player day one, but what does he develop into? I feel like Amon-Ra, it's like I've seen the finished product. Whereas with Tony, I've seen a whole lot of potential. Like, which yeah, I understand there are a lot of people that don't like potential, but at the end of the day, like there are plenty of guys who have developed from college into the NFL that had a ton of potential, and look, they became insane. Amon-Ra, it's like, okay, if I need a guy with a high floor to be a receiver 2, receiver 3, maybe someone in the slot, great player. But this is fantasy football. I'm not looking for receiver 3s. I'm looking for receiver 1s, especially if I'm taking him in the first or high second round.
Fair enough. All right, I spent enough time slandering Tony.
Wide receiver 18.
I got my Tony slander. Yeah, we could mark me down for that one. I mean, all right, if we're gonna continue, it's just like Van Jefferson outperformed him, and was Van Jefferson really doing? Like, I know he's our buy and whatnot, but like Van Jefferson, what number wide receiver would he be in last year's draft? Like, Tony's a senior. So,
Jefferson is an old senior.
yeah, that's true, but it's just
Yeah, but Van Jefferson is a prospect too. Like he went late second round. You know, I have Tony. What do I have him graded? Like that early second round. I don't think there's a huge discrepancy between the two of them.
Fair enough. We spent a lot of time on Tony. Probably more than any listener would care. So final tier that we're gonna do, and then we'll wrap it up. Thank you everyone for listening. Like and subscribe. Comment down below if you're on YouTube. Give us a 5-star review on any podcasts. Because we could use those. Tier 6, last tier. we've got Diami Brown, Elijah Moore, Kylan Hill, Ramondre Stevenson, Jamar Jefferson, Khalil Herbert, Nico Collins, Shai Smith, and Demetric Felton. It's a lot of names for everyone to remember. I hope everyone could hear those. But I guess since I'm rambling, I guess I'll go again first. Definitely the number one guy I'm moving up is Diami Brown. I'm very high on him. I push him over most players in tier 5. I know I said that about Terrace Marshall too. I'd push him over most guys in tier 5, honestly. I really like the kid from UNC. I just think he's got a lot of potential.
Because I haven't
I
watched.
feel like a lot of it is going to be contributed to what's his name? Sam Howell. That's the UNC quarterback, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, when you have someone that's likely to be the number one quarterback going into next year, like obviously you're going to get bumped up. But I think I'd compare him most to the likes of Darius Slayton, but I really like Diami Brown more than Darius Slayton. Like I think he's got much better potential than Darius Slayton. I think he'll be a better wide receiver. And when we're talking in like these tiers, like I just think if I'm getting a better Darius Slayton, then like I'm bumping him up higher because Darius Slayton is someone that we could, you know, we all agree has a lot of potential and could have done great things on the Giants. I guess he still can, but it's the outlook's not looking great. And you know, like another helpful thing is I might be ageist like Jake has accused me of being before, but I like when people are early declares. And that's what Diami Brown is. I want to make sure I'm not speaking out of turn, but I'm pretty sure Diami Brown is a junior who
I think
yeah. Which makes me like play him more just because he's, you know, he probably got a good NFL grade then and is convinced that he's going to get drafted pretty highly. You know, anyone that's over 6 feet normally gets a boost in my rankings. Oh, geez, I don't know if you couldn't hear that. I just clicked on Diami Brown's.
What are you, a Tinder girl?
No, we heard you.
Okay.
We heard you.
no, but when I'm looking at wide receivers, right? Like you have to be like a really special talent for me to really like you if you're going to be under 6 feet, if you're going to be like
So you are a Tinder girl.
a little bit maybe. It's
You can't be a senior. You got to be over 6 feet. You got to be this. You
like,
got to
when
have
Tinder
this.
girls look
Like,
like older men, right? When Tinder girls be like, they're not going to like look to chase.
yeah, but you're the Tinder girl of fantasy football, all right?
Sure.
You got to have the dominator rating, the breakout age, the height,
But
the weight.
it's just the it's look that like numbers aren't always right.
JT's the analytics guy that's telling you to go for 2 when you should just kick the extra point.
You should go for 2. I am the I'll own up to the analytics guys, right? Because oftentimes they're more right than wrong. Like it's just how analytics work. Obviously, there are players that they're wrong.
Some of the obvious guys too, because they didn't have a good testing and they didn't have this and they were slightly too old.
I mean,
I think there's not a lot of guys for that.
Terry McLaurin's the main one that really missed for as far as analytic guys are like concerned. Like they're the ones that they faded Terry McLaurin.
Metcalf fell all the way to the goddamn second round. So,
but no one was really on their stump for DK Metcalf. No one was like saying that you should go out and get this guy as the wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2.
Pony.
I had a wide receiver 2 in that class. I don't want to hear it. I did.
No,
have
I'm not saying you, Frank, but I'm saying a lot of even the NFL guys, they were all saying he's a one-trick pony. He's not going to be great in the NFL. And look at him.
So that's not just analytic guys.
He was a second-round pick. It's not like he was undrafted Joe Schmo in the freaking backyard.
Also, that's not the analytic guys that are like, you know, bumping him down for that. Like, I feel like I did see analytic guys, you know,
and a lot of these guys scouting, and a lot of the scouting reports that these teams put together.
I don't know, JT. I'm pretty sure you were thinking about making a diss track about him. I'm pretty sure I heard that.
Yeah. DK Metcalf is pretty active on social media. He's probably someone that we could get your reaction from, which would help the pod. But we're getting off track. I'm just saying, like first off, I don't really.
Who's your move down? Let's get into your move down.
Just one quick thing. I don't consider scouting report guys to really be analytic guys. I just think they're guys that like write profiles about players because that's their job, and they just gotta try and make comps for these guys that never really fit. That's if I'm looking into prospects, I'm not going out and I'm not searching, like Kadarius Toney comps, like because I just think that's where you
I
go down the
agree
wrong
with
rabbit.
No, I completely agree with that. But I'm saying like literally like guys that this is their job to be an NFL scout. Like they look at it's one of the things they definitely look at is all these analytical data.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and I think the combine is probably one of the most overhyped. There are definitely certain things about the combine that are important, but it's something that it does get overhyped. But we're getting off track. We're getting off track. Who did I say? So I said I'm moving up Diami Brown. I like Diami Brown a lot. It gets tough because I like a lot of these guys in this list. I like Nico Collins. I'm not going to move him down. Um, I just I'm gonna have to just make a pick and go with Khalil Herbert, just because I haven't watched him enough. I haven't really done enough info on him, so he's gonna be the one I'm gonna move down, and I'm just gonna move on from there. Jake, you go.
All right, the guy I'm moving up is Elijah Moore, Ole Miss. He obviously was on the same receiving core as DK Metcalf, AJ Brown. Um, I just think he has a really good get off the line. He can run that. He can beat you deep. He can beat you over the middle. I just think he's a very versatile wide receiver. Tier 6. I just think he has a lot of potential to move up. Um, and moving down, I'm moving Ramondre Stevenson down, running back from Oklahoma. I just think he's a guy that doesn't really translate to the NFL. I just think he's going to be more of a short yardage back, not a guy that's really going to be fantasy relevant. And for that reason, I have him moving down.
I will go, Frank. I'm sorry in advance if this was your pick. For moving up, I'm gonna
I've got
go.
like 8 picks, bro. I'm good.
Okay, cool. So for moving up, I'm gonna go Nico Collins. Um, I just think it's not so much what we've seen, but just his potential and what his ceiling is. I think is what makes me move him up. First off, he's huge, 6'4", and I'm not. It's hard for me to fault a receiver for not being super productive at Michigan with how their quarterback has played for has been like literally the past decade. Like I will never blame a receiver at Michigan for like their stats. So he doesn't have like the most eye popping stats, but he was heavily recruited coming out. And he's just huge. I just think he's fast enough too, where I just think his potential ceiling is really high, and he's someone out of that tier that I think has the highest chance of breaking out. And who would I put down? I think I got the same guy as Jake. I'd probably go Stevenson. I'm not going to go too in depth because Jake summed it up well, but I just wasn't overly impressed by him. The Oklahoma offense, which is kind of like an air raid offense right now. So yeah, he probably would be the guy I put down. But some guys in that tier, I probably need to watch a little bit more.
My turn. All right. I was going to say Demetric Felton because I think as a late round get, he is insane. Like, super, super, super talented. I was going to say Shi Smith because South Carolina Homer, I've been watching this guy for a while. I've always been targeting him. Shi can fly. This dude is also got insane potential. But because I had 2 people say you'd move him down, I'm moving him up. Just finished watching him yesterday, and that is my boy Ramondre Stevenson, the JUCO transfer to Oklahoma. You know, you might think he's just a short yardage back. You might think that he's not fast enough. And you know what? You're wrong. Because Ramondre Stevenson, he weighed in, I think, 227 at the Senior Bowl. And this dude has super, super, super underrated short area quickness and burst. You would not expect it out of a running back his size. But he is constantly making guys miss at the second level, which is a problem that a lot of these bigger backs have, especially against smaller defenders that just knee chop the shit out of you. The other thing, too, is just like, aside from the receiving game, which is easily his biggest weakness. He's a pretty versatile running back. Yeah, he's not going to burn you in the open field, but he's quick enough to get to the second level. He's powerful enough to make multiple guys bring him down. So, like, in terms of a running back that I'm picking up at the end of the draft, this is a guy that, you don't really find a ton of 3-down potential S backs at the end of the draft that are tough to bring down. So I think that Ramondre Stevenson is a guy, I have him pegged currently to go in the NFL draft at around that late 3rd, early 4th round pick through 3 games. So I analyzed 3 games, and according to my tracking, he has a higher forced missed tackle per run rate than Najee Harris. And you might say the competition is crap bullshit, but 2 of those 3 games were against ranked opponents, which included Florida and Oklahoma State, both of which have a bunch of talented defensive players. So Ramondre Stevenson is my move up, and right now I think I have him RB6. Let me just check that. Someone fill in the space while I'm checking.
Yeah, well, I
RB6.
guess I could take. All right, well, that was quick.
That was quick.
I think that's all we got then.